Well, this is a day that we are celebrating here called Earth Day. The 42nd annual first began in 1970. I'm not really concerned about political ambitions and persuasions, and I'm not really going to be mindful of social agendas. I'm approaching this today as a spiritual entity. I think that as spiritual beings, there is this big, huge thing going on, and it might be important for us as spiritual people to understand, where do we stand on this? How do we respond to all these things about Earth Day as spiritual people? And that's what I'm going to be talking to you today about. And I think it's very important. James Hillman was a psychologist who ran the Jungian Institute in Switzerland. And he wrote one time, he said, psychology, so dedicated to awakening human consciousness, needs to wake itself up to one of the most ancient human truths. We cannot be studied or cured apart from the planet. For many years, for thousands of years, Christianity in particular, and other religions as well, felt that humankind was the epitome of God's great creation and was then given dominion over all the rest of the world. In other words, we were on the top of the pyramid, and everything else was for us to use and abuse in any way we wanted. Thankfully, that has changed in the last 15 years, where people are realizing more and more that we are very deeply connected to this thing called Earth. And as Hillman says, we cannot be cured, we cannot be made whole without understanding our connection to the planet. So regardless of what you may think politically about global warming or about any of those issues, I want you to know spiritually we are connected to this thing called the Earth. And I think that has impact on the way we relate to it and to each other. These are important things. I think personally that our alienation from the Earth is a reflection of our own alienation from ourselves and from others. This somehow we feel that we are separated, and this separation is creating enormous difficulty in our lives. For example, some of you may remember the unpronounceable volcano that erupted in Iceland in 2010. Remember that name? It was like a million different syllables. This volcano erupted in Iceland and created this enormous dark cloud of ash that covered northern Europe, and planes were not allowed to fly in and out. And we watched it here from Hawaii. We're blessedly isolated in some ways. We thought, well, isn't that something? Well, I want you to know, most people aren't aware of the fact, but thousands and thousands of miles away in Kenya, because of that ash cloud, these people were suffering. They grew roses that were sent generally to northern Europe, and that's what they were for. They also grew exotic vegetables in Kenya, and that's what they were for. But because of this cloud, this eruption, they couldn't send them, and they suffered all kinds of economic disaster in Kenya because of something that happened in Iceland. The point I'm trying to make is we are deeply connected. We can't any longer say, well, that happened over there and it doesn't impact us, because as a planet, we are connected. And I think it's part of the great spiritual evolution that we're having. We now have this tremendous nervous system that we never had on the planet. You know what a nervous system is, right? Which when something happens here, you can feel it and read about it all over there. It's called the internet. Oh, and it is connecting us like nobody's business. We are now more electronically, and really a nervous system is just a collection of electrical impulses, you understand. So the internet is just a collection of electrical impulses. So now the whole planet has this huge nervous system. We are truly an organism that is growing there. So what's our response to that? It's something that I'm calling sustainable spirituality. It's a spirituality that enables us to understand that relationship. And it has essentially three different dimensions to it. The first dimension is the inner journey. Now, of course, we're going to talk about that in unity, because we know everything begins on the inside. All of our outsides are manifestations of what's going on inside. We say, if you want to change your life, change your thinking, we are creating our world. So the inner journey is the first dimension that's really important. It's that journey that we make that's deeper and deeper inside ourselves. Charles Fillmore is the co-founder of Unity, and he said there is but one way to establish harmony in the home, and that is to establish it first in the individual. He knew that it had to happen there. So I have affirmations for each of these things. Affirmations are what we use in Unity to help change our thinking, and it's simply this: I commit to sustaining and expanding awareness of God in me. Okay, we know God is in you. So I'm asking you for this Earth Day to commit step 1 to sustaining that expanded awareness in ourselves. That seems pretty innocent enough. Can you do it? Let's say this together. I commit to sustaining and expanding awareness of God in me. Okay, now that's lovely, but how do you do it? This is a test. I've been telling you for years. Okay? Well, there's, and you say, yeah, but which one? You gave us several different ones. Okay, let's go with the first one. The first way to develop this expanding awareness is prayer, meditation, and good works. Some of you are going, what? Prayer, meditation, and good works are the beginning steps of that inner journey. And then I gave you another model from Paramahansa Yogananda, the Self-Realization Fellowship, last year sometime. Do you remember that one? It was read a little, meditate more, and think about God all the time. I like that. That's easy, right? Although that's hard. Somebody say, how can you think about God all the time? I have to drive, or I'm trying to make a cake, or I'm trying to fix dinner, or I'm yelling at my spouse. How can I think about God? Well, that's the challenge. I want to give you some other ways to expand the awareness of God in ourselves. Let me give you a hint. These other ways are happening on Saturday. The flea market? I could expand my awareness at the farmer's market? Well, yeah, I suppose so. But I'm talking about the classes that we're offering here. See, this church is very devoted to education. We're doing classes all the time. And I bet you can talk to anybody who's taken some of these classes, and they will tell you how their life has been transformed by taking these classes. So they are another way for that inner journey to expand within ourselves. I can think of some other ways. I want you to start ruminating. Well, how could I expand that awareness? Well, you could come down on Monday and help them serve people, the homeless folks on the beach, or you could come Wednesday and help them prepare meals there. We've got all kinds of ways for you to expand that presence within ourselves. But it's up to you. That's the decision. The second thing is the micro dimension. So the first one is the inner dimension, where we're just working on this. Now we're looking about how to create a sustainable spirituality. So the first thing is the journey inside. It has to be rooted there. Second thing is the micro dimension, where it's rooted with the people that I'm interacting with right in front of my face right now. The people that I meet at the grocery store, the people who are in the library checking out books, the people that I come to work with. These are the people who are right in front of me. How I relate to them, and how I expand my awareness of their own sacredness to me. Buddhists are fantastic at this. They're very fantastic when it comes to sharing things, for example. I want to share a story with you from a man named Rabbi Warren Stone. He's an amazing rabbi who's been very involved in ecological issues. He went to the G20 summit in Seoul, Korea, to represent some religious folks who were interested in ecology. And he tells this wonderful story of something that happened there. They were on a bus tour, a group of them, and they were going off to lunch, and the bus driver got lost, which I understand is an easy thing to do in Seoul, Korea. The driver, there was an attendant who was, a host who was taking these people around, and the host basically said to them, we're not going to have time to eat lunch. We're not going to be able to eat lunch because we're lost. And all I have for you is a box of cookies. There was a Buddhist on the bus, and he wrote about his feelings, and I wanted to share what he wrote. We were very hungry, and I needed one cookie since I was getting faint. I wanted two since I was still hungry, and even desired to have 3 or more. I can relate. But one cookie was all I needed to satisfy my hunger. I wanted 2 cookies, and there was enough so that I could satisfy that want. But the third cookie was more than my need and more than my want. It was a desire which represented luxury and overabundance. I chose not to take the third cookie. Oh. So I guess my challenge to you then is, as we go through life, is maybe not to take the third cookie. Even though maybe we can afford it, we deserve it, we worked hard for it. It's not about that. It's a different mindset. There is an affirmation for you. I commit to sustaining and expanding awareness of God in others. We don't take the third cookie because we know someone else needs it. Can you say this with me? Let's say it together. I commit to sustaining and expanding awareness of God in others. So once we've expanded that awareness in ourselves, now we look around and we expand it to others. And the last one, the macro dimension, is about that relationship that we have to those beings beyond this one and to all life beyond this one. As a minister, a lot of times people will tell me, oh, you know, I don't go to church because nature is my church. And I go, oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, the Grand Canyon's very inspiring. Queen Liliuokalani Gardens is really, really beautiful and inspiring. As people, we do get very inspired by nature. We tend to drive by it more than not, but it's still a place that we get inspired by. That's an ancient tradition. I want to read you from one of the oldest books in the Hebrew Bible, the book of Job. And this is in the 11th chapter. It says, but ask the animals what they think. Let them teach you. Let the birds tell you what's going on. Put your ear to the earth and learn the basics. Listen. The fish of the ocean will tell you their stories. Isn't it clear that they all know and agree that God is sovereign, that he holds all things in his hand, every living soul, yes, every breathing creature? Isn't this all just common sense? As common as the sense of taste? Do you think the elderly have a corner on wisdom, that you have to grow old before you understand life? No, of course not. We can understand it by having this connection with nature is part of what it says in Scripture that we use to connect with God. So the affirmation for you on that is, I commit to sustaining and expanding awareness of God throughout the earth. Can you join me and let's say this together? I commit to sustaining and expanding awareness of God throughout the earth. So that means now when we look at the world, we're going to be looking to see how God is expressing. We're looking for that trademark of God, that copyright in a sense of God on everything, and it will change the way we relate to the world. The reason that's important is because we are one with it, and we cannot be completely healed unless we are connected to the healing process that takes place in the earth. Confucius was a very wise man. He wrote this little verse that was later, thousands of years later, turned into a song that I teach to our preschool kids every Thursday when I meet with them for chapel. And I'm very happy to tell you that it's their favorite song, and it's my favorite song. And I'm going to get to teach it to you too, because it talks about how the inner journey manifests in the outer and then in the rest of the world as it goes away too. That's the thing I want you to understand. This inner change that we're going through has ripple effects in different dimensions as we move through the world, and that's how we can heal the planet. So the song, the words are going to be up on the screen, and I'm going to invite you just to join in as you can. When there's light in the soul, there is beauty in the person. When there's beauty in the person, there is harmony within the home. When there's harmony within the home, there's order in the nation. When there's order in the nation, there is in the world, peace in the world. You see how it goes? From the light in the soul to the beauty in the person to in the home and in the world. Good. Let's sing it again. When there's light in the soul, there is beauty in the person. When there's beauty in the person, there is harmony within the home. When there's harmony within the home, there's order in the nation. When there's order in the nation, there is peace in the world. We're going to sing it again just so you can learn it. Peace in the world. When there's light in the soul, there is beauty in the person. When there's beauty in the person, there is harmony within the home. When there's harmony within the home, there's order in the nation. When there's order in the nation, there is peace in the world. Peace in the world. Beautiful. Thank you. I had assistants doing that. So you see that it starts inside and it goes out. So I want to go through. This is a quote from the Apostle Paul in his writing to the church in Philippians. He said, if you've gotten anything out of all following Christ, if his love has made any difference in your life, if being in a community of the Spirit means anything to you, if you have a heart, if you care, then do me a favor. Agree with each other. Love each other. Be deep-spirited friends. Don't push your way to the front. Don't sweet-talk your way to the top. Forget yourselves long enough to lend a helping hand. And I believe the earth needs that hand. I want you to go through these affirmations one more time with me to know what they mean for you and for the planet. Together, I commit to sustaining and expanding awareness of God in me. I commit to sustaining and expanding awareness of God in others. And I commit to sustaining and expanding awareness of God throughout the earth. Beautiful. Would you close your eyes with me for just a moment, please? This is a time of meditation where I invite you to listen to the Spirit within you. The one that says, okay, this is for you to pay attention to. This is for you. This is what I wanted you to hear. This is what I want you to know today. And then all we have to do is say yes and thank you, God. I listen. In these quiet moments, know that the most important thing you can do right now is to listen. As we come to God together in the sacred and holy silence.